Morning guys, Mark from Vic Time Outdoors. Haven't been able to get out recently. I injured my lower back a little bit, and I was kind of nervous that if I was walking around and I slipped on some ice or rolled my foot on a log or something like that, that it would just finish me out there. So I've been kind of laying low lately, driving me nuts a little bit. I was hoping to get out. I had some ideas for some good videos for you guys, but it's just not happening. So I've been kind of staying indoors and just reading a pile of books, and it gave me an idea. And I was thinking about, what is the most important piece of gear that you could bring with you in the woods? And anyway, I'm going to go through a few things that I carry with me on a daily basis, or on a trip, whether it be a day trip or whatever it is. There's a few things that I always bring with me, and then we'll talk about what I think is the most important piece of gear that anybody can bring with them. So we'll start here. Right here I have my Pathfinder haversack. And I keep a few things inside of this thing. When I was looking for a haversack to carry with me, I wasn't sure if I was going to like this, because I like to be able to hold things in my hand and look at them and feel the durability of it. This thing is absolutely bomb-proof. I'm sure you can, anything from short of throwing it into a fire, it's going to survive it. It's just great. The only thing I wish I could change is make the strap a little bit longer. I'm a plus size model, so I need the extra room. But it still hangs pretty nice. I could use maybe another 3 inches on the handle on the strap, and it'd be perfect. But inside of this thing, you can carry tons of equipment. I carry my fire kit, pound of bank line, Jeff White bush knife, sheath with a ferrocerium rod that I've swapped the handle out with some fat wood. Oops. My compass, my slingshot, spoon that I've carved out of a piece of birch, my backhoe. I've got a little kit I put together with a chunk of fat wood, a big ferrocerium rod, and some jute twine. So I got multiple ways of getting a fire started with this thing if I get in trouble. And a lighter. And I don't always keep all these things inside of here. Like one of them I'll pack in my pack, and I've got another ferro rod here with some more fat wood onto it, and I've just lightly covered it in wax just to keep it from drying out too much. But I still got room inside this pack. This is only about 2/3 full, and I got a bunch of room that I can put other things inside. Normally I carry a waterproof bag inside here, so if I'm walking around and I happen to see some nice tinder lying around, cedar bark, birch bark, dried grass, that kind of thing, I'll usually put this stuff. I'll usually put that stuff inside of my haversack. I've got it on my side, and I keep my water bottle in there. That all fits. There's tons of room in that thing with my nesting cup and the lid, which I just dropped. There it is. So usually I'll take this and I'll carry it with my Roycroft pack frame. I'm not going to unload this thing. You guys saw it in the video that I made about hiking with a Roycroft pack frame. But inside, I've got my a fireboard with basically a bow drill set. I've got my blanket. I've got my Mora in here, my backup knife. I've got a pot for boiling water. Stick a little kettle. I've got a bunch of stuff that I would need. Plus my tarp turns into my shelter and whatnot. But if you want to basically see how this works, check out my my hiking with a Roycroft pack frame video. But this and this make an excellent pair. You put your camp stuff in here, you put your need at any time stuff in here, and you're good to go. So I'll put that aside. I also, depending on where I'm going or what my plan is, I carry a Grand Trunk Skeeter Beater hammock tent. It's got the bug net on it and all that stuff. And it's small, it's lightweight, it fits into all kinds of things. I'm hoping to be able to do a video on this soon. It's a really cool piece of kit and really surprisingly comfortable. But anyway, so I'll just swap this out in between any kit that I'm using at the time. Sometimes I've got this this little guy here. I think I have some things in here too. Not much. I've got my Vitagrill stove. You guys, if you want to check out about this stove, I've got a video up called Vitagrill stove review or something like this. But this is on the on my thing, and I've also got my my kettles in here, my Primus kettle, and a few things. I got my first aid kit and all that stuff. Anyway, it's all in here. Sometimes I'll take this if I'm just going out for a day hike, and I'll also carry this with my Pathfinder. Just make sure I've got my 5 C's in here, and a few extras inside my haversack, and I'm good to go. And if I'm going on a big hike or an overnighter or whatever, I'll bring this guy with me. It's a 45, a Canyon 45, but it expands to a 55. In here now I got my headlamp and a few other things, flashlight. I'm not going to pull it all out because this kind of gear is actually not what the video is about. What I wanted to talk to you guys about today, and talk about the most important piece of gear you can carry with you, is what you keep in your head. A lot of times, if you're out in the bush and you know, just certain things like proper knife technique or proper axe technique or whatever it is, and I know the more comfortable you get with a tool, the more risk you tend to take. It's probably best to you know, read certain books over again. Like just recently, I read Bushcraft 101 from Dave Canterbury. I've read this book twice now. This, along with Morris Kahansky's Bushcraft, two of the best, I think, field guides we'll call for a beginner bushcrafter that there is out there. You can read these two books, and they'll show you tips and techniques on how to safely use your tools, set certain traps, all kinds of things. Now, a lot of these books, they'll go over and over and over and over again, a lot of the same different ideas. But sometimes the ideas are coming from a different view, and each one of these views can help you in a better way in certain situations. So I prefer to read these things kind of over and over again, and I find it keeps me fresh. Every now and then I'll pick something up and it'll be like, oh man, I should have done this like this, I'll try that next time. And the good thing about it is I'll jot that down on a pad and paper, and the next time I do go out, I will try it the next time, and it brings me to a little bit of a higher level each time, and that's a good thing. My Bushcraft from Morris Kahansky book, I do not have it with me, I left it out. I do have that Nesmith book, Camping Bushcrafting, or I can't remember the name of it, that's on the way. I've also got a book on primitive shelters on the way. I also read this. I read this. This is called the Homesteader's Manual, by the editor of Farmstead Magazine. Inside here, you've got a couple of wild edibles. It's got tarp setups. It's got some traps ideas. It's got how to make a bed, a bed frame, how to make a table frame. It's got all kinds of information. Building log cabins, building shelters, lean-tos, smokehouses, ways to dry your food, how to clear your land. It's got all kinds of interesting stuff there. Water, dealing with water. It's basically more of a self-reliance book than it is a survival book. But self-reliance, bushcraft, and survival are all slightly different, but I think they all go hand in hand in a way. So I kind of like this book just to give you a different view on certain things that might actually help you out in a situation that you're in. So knowledge, worth every read, every second reading. I also got this book. This was the first one I ever got, actually. It was called The Ultimate Guide to Wilderness Living, by John McPherson and Jared McPherson. It's a pretty good book. It's got some information on. It's not like a how. I wouldn't say it's exactly a how-to book. It does go into some detail on how to do some things. They've got some decent pictures, how to make atlatls, primitive bows, all that kind of stuff. I think it might have been a little bit better if they had a little bit more photo step by step, but that would have made the book about 4 times the size. But the good thing about this book is it gives you a good start to start trying things like flint knapping if you've never tried it before. I've actually never tried it before, and I don't want to. But a lot of the rocks that we have around my area aren't really good for that kind of thing. But anyway, it's a good read, gets you started. And these guys went out and they lived quite a long time using only primitive tools, which was pretty cool. So a good read. A book I got from my grandfather was called, actually got from my father through my grandfather, was called How to Stay Alive in the Woods by Bradford Angier. This is another pretty good book. It gives you some interesting stuff, interesting information on different types of shelters and lighting fires and all that stuff. Again, it's not a crazy detailed book on how to do certain things, but it has some primitive trapping, fish traps and all that kind of stuff, making fish hooks. So it's a pretty good bushcraft book. It's got some decent information into it. It was a decent read also. Again, a lot of the stuff that was in this book was covered in other books, but well worth the read. And I picked up a few other cool things in there too, which was kind of interesting. I just finished this one. It's called Wilderness Secrets Revealed by André Francois Bourbeau. This was a great book. He goes a bit into how he kind of got into bushcraft in the beginning, and then slowly but surely how he would test himself on these little outings, so he'd get an idea. Like, I want to try. What would happen if I got stuck outside without a coat in the winter? What would I do? And he tried these things. This guy is, in my opinion, he's kind of borderline bushcraft crazy. He went out with no shoes and made his own shoes and all this kind of stuff. But in the end, he ended up getting a Guinness Book of World Records for the longest voluntary wilderness survival in the boreal forest, I believe. Anyway, just finished this book. Very interesting book. It's not a detailed step-by-step book at all. But while you're reading it and the things that he's done and things he's tried that he had success with and didn't have success with, it worked. And it worked out for him. And a lot of the things he talks about is how a lot of the books that you will read of wild edibles and this and that, yes, they may not be toxic for you, but no, there's no way for your body to actually keep some of this stuff down. It's just too hard on the stomach. So anyway, this was a very good book, and he gives you some tips and tricks while he's talking about how he did things and things that worked and things he failed at. And anyway, this is another good book. I also read a book called First Crossing by Alexander Mackenzie. Now, this isn't a how-to book at all. This is more like an account of history. The interesting thing about this book was, as you're reading it, you get to learn about what kind of equipment these guys carried with them, what they used, what they needed, and these guys were, going across some of the worst terrain ever. In the middle of the freezing winters and all this stuff, and these guys handled themselves quite well, not because of the equipment they're carrying, but because of the knowledge they had and the skills that they had, practicing their knowledge, and they became really good at what they do, and they ended up crossing the Arctic and finding the northern passage from ocean to ocean, right across the north of Canada, which is quite a ways to go. But in this book, I took away with me, this is what basically got me thinking about what will be my most important piece of gear to carry with me. And a lot of people will say it's a knife, it's a saw, it's this, that, but I think it's what you know and what you've practiced. So I think your knowledge is key. I guess the few books that I bring with me, or I try to read and study when I go out, one of them is called Trees of North America. I know a few trees that I like. I mean, I'm not going to walk into the woods and say, okay, this is a American chestnut or whatever it is. I have no idea what some of these trees are. But what I do know is I know how to identify, hickories, a bunch of pine trees, some birch trees, some poplars, and pines, and balsam firs, and a lot of the ones that I like using for bow drill sets and all that stuff. I've taken the time, cedars, I've taken the time to study these and be able to identify them. And then once I had that information, I could start branching out to other trees and start trying to figure out what are good uses for those trees. And that's kind of got me. This book kind of led me to my next one, which brings me to this book here, The Edible and Medicinal Plants. I picked up this book not too long ago, just to kind of work on some other medicinal plants I can use to eat while I'm out there. To be honest, I'm kind of chicken about that, and my local garden center is starting to hate me a little bit. But the only thing I've ever eaten out of the woods is fiddleheads. I usually go to collect these. They're pretty easy to find, and they're pretty safe to eat. I don't think I have any of the poison varieties, or not poison, but inedible varieties in my area. But I started using this book to identify some trees or plants, and then I'll cut a leaf off them and a part of the branch, and then I'll bring them back to my garden center and have them identify it, just to make sure that I'm not making an error in my book. They've come to know me as, oh, that guy's here again. So I go back and forth to there as often as I can to try to gain some knowledge. And if I get to a point where I'm like, okay, I understand, I'm learning something, well, I'm going to start trying to make some things. I make some meals out of some of the stuff I find out in the woods. But I'm kind of nervous because we do have, I'm just going to stay away from certain families, like the carrot families. I've got some out here, and parsnips and carrots, all the same family, and some of them are highly toxic. So I'm going to completely stay away from those, along with the mushrooms. I've started to learn a few mushrooms. A friend of mine showed me a few that are edible, but I just don't want to take the risk for that. So I stay away from them. Aside from chaga, I stay away from all mushrooms. But anyway, that being said, I also have a couple in my phone. Let's find them here. I've got the compass. I picked this one up because I am kind of weak with my orienteering a little bit with a compass. I've always tend to use GPS on my phone, or a few other things, but if something ever happens where I lose my phone or I lose my GPS, I'm kind of screwed. So I wanted to, I know how a compass works, but I haven't actually put it into practice all that much to say I'm absolutely comfortable with it. So, which is why I'm carrying a compass with me all the time now, and I'm kind of forcing myself to take a bearing when I go in, and I kind of wander around and I try to get myself back to the same spot and just practice the use of it. Another one is Harvesting Wild Meat. I got this book not because I wanted to learn how to make certain traps, because there are thousands of YouTube videos out there on how to make primitive traps, and they're pretty simple enough to the point where somebody with with an hour or two on their hands can kind of whip one up that'll work. But to make this work for you, to be able to trap animals, it's not about, can I take a piece of cord and make a trap out of it. You need to learn the behavior of the animals, how they behave at certain seasons, what they're going to look like, because some of them actually change their colors. There's a lot more things to trapping than just whipping a live trap together with a couple of sticks. So I've decided to go on this. I got this book because he goes into detail about animal behavior with rabbits and birds and things like that, which is why I got this book, so I can take away more of the animal behavior and give me more success if I ever need to use this. Practice making them. Look for these these little game trails, rabbit droppings or whatever it is, and just to be able to get you on track, and that'll help you out. And I also got this other book called Fire Skills for the North American Forest. I got that one also just to see if I can pick up any other materials I can use that'll help me make fires out in the woods. I'm pretty good with my fire skills, but you can always get better. So this is why I wanted to work on that. I gotta say, I know this is kind of a bit of a boring video, but I have to say that probably the most important thing that you can bring with you is your knowledge. If you lose your knife and you know a little bit about flint knapping, you can fashion one out of stone. With that being done, you can take that stone and you can make yourself a bow drill set if you know how to make a little bit of cordage. So what it all comes down to is your knowledge on how to make a decent cordage, what kind of bow drill set to use with natural cordage. That's one thing I found out. I tried one with basically jute twine, which is a very tough natural cordage, but I wanted to see if I could do a regular bow drill set with it, and I failed, and I failed, and I failed, and I failed. And then I came across this thing called the Egyptian bow drill set, and I actually did a video on this one, on how to do an Egyptian bow drill. I just wanted to videotape it in the beginning, just to see myself in action, to see if it actually works, or how my technique works, if it's good or bad, or whatever it is. And it turned out that the Egyptian bow drill set with natural cordage worked fantastic, and it stayed away, the cord never rubbed against each other, and it held up real well, and I got an ember out of it. So all these different things you can do, you can try, you can learn. You may buy a book that has 99% the same thing, information as another book, but it's got that one thing that you can take away from it, then it was worth the $13-15 or $2.99 if you get the Kindle version of it. Read as much as you can, learn as much as you can, and when you get a chance, get out and put it into practice and see if you can get it to work. Not everything you can find a video for, I mean just about everything now, but part of the fun of it is actually just reading something quick, getting an idea in your head, going outdoors and putting it into practice. And if you screw up and you don't make it, who cares? You've learned something. You've learned what not to do. So it's all a learning process that gets you going. And it's part of it that I like about bushcraft. And this is why I read all this stuff. And actually a couple of other books that I don't have with me today, and a couple I got coming in. And I read them once or twice sometimes. Or if I know I want to try something like a different fire method, I'll research it somewhere, I'll read about it, and I'll try to do it with different materials just to make it a little more tough for me. Or I'll go outside when it's snowing or whatever it is and see if I can burn an ember in a fireboard. It's all fun, and the knowledge that you have here will help you out when you get out there. And even if you've never actually tried something, at least the idea is in your head, so you can actually sit down, calm down, take stock of what you got, and see if you can make one of these things. Anyway guys, I'm done rambling. So you guys take care, get out and explore, read a book, try something new. Take it easy guys, see you in the next one.